Okay, so are you ready to dive deep?
Oh, always ready. Let's do it.
Awesome. Today we're going deep into Exodus chapter 11.
Exodus, always a good one.
It really is. We got this study from My Christian Space, and
Oh, My Christian Space. Yeah, I've seen that one.
yeah, it's really fascinating. It gets into some intense themes. We're talking divine judgment, redemption, and how God works everything out even when, people try to resist.
Yeah, there is just so much in that chapter. So much to unpack. It really sets up the climax of the whole Exodus story.
Oh, totally. And it starts off with a real punch in the gut, right? Exodus 11.1. Bam. God announces this final plague. It's like the last straw before Pharaoh finally lets the Israelites go.
It's interesting. The study points out the actual word used for plague there in the Hebrew.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's closer to touch. It's a much more personal, deliberate thing than just a random disaster.
Right.
It's God directly intervening. It's unmistakable. It's God's presence. It's God's judgment. You can't miss it.
Wow. I never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
That really changes how you read that verse.
Yeah.
And then it gets, it takes this interesting turn, right?
Okay.
In verses 2 and 3, God tells the Israelites to go to their Egyptian neighbors
Oh, right.
and ask for their gold and silver jewelry.
Yeah.
But, and here's the thing, he makes the Egyptians willing to just give it up.
It's a crazy detail. There's so much in that little detail. For
Yeah.
one thing, it really shows you how much authority, respect Moses had. I mean, he wasn't just some rebel leader.
Yeah.
Even the Egyptians, they saw him as this powerful figure, someone to be listened to. But there's more,
Okay, yeah.
This whole thing, it points to something bigger.
Oh, okay, how so?
All that gold and silver, it's going to be used to build the tabernacle.
Ah, right.
That portable sanctuary where they're going to worship God.
Okay, yeah.
So even in all this judgment, there's redemption. There's this hint at a future where God's people are going to have this special place to connect with him.
I like that, yeah. That's such a cool connection. Like this. Like a light in all the darkness.
Mm-hmm.
But then, of course, things get real.
Oh, yeah.
Verses 4 and 5.
Mm-hmm.
The prophecy about the final plague. All the firstborn in Egypt are going to die.
I mean, think about that. The firstborn son in Egypt.
Yeah.
That was a huge deal, almost sacred,
Oh, right.
They were like the inheritors, They carried on the family line.
Okay.
This wasn't just some physical attack. It was like an attack on their entire society, their belief system, their future, everything.
Whoa, that's heavy.
Yeah.
It shows you how serious God is.
Yeah.
This is not a joke.
Right.
But what I thought was interesting was how he, announces this prophecy.
Oh, okay.
He says it's going to happen about midnight,
Right.
not, exactly at midnight.
Mm-hmm.
The study was saying that's deliberate.
Yeah, totally. That phrasing, it adds this the suspense. We need to be ready, right?
For sure.
God can act at any time. Maybe we don't know the exact moment, but
Yeah.
we need to be ready.
It's not knowing when, it's just being ready.
Exactly.
And then you see these completely different reactions.
Oh,
Verses 6 and 7. The Egyptians are totally freaking out, right?
Mm.
But the Israelites,
Yeah.
silence.
Mm.
Even the animals are quiet. It's so powerful.
It's like a picture.
Yeah.
Those who obey God, those who don't. One side's all fear and grief. The other side, there's this peace. Even in all this crazy stuff that's happening, you really see what a difference your choices make. Where you stand with God, it's right there.
Yeah, it makes you think about how we deal with stuff in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
When things go wrong, are we freaking out?
Yeah.
Or are we trusting God, finding that quiet space in the middle of everything?
That's such a good point. It's so easy to get caught up in the drama, right? Our own little plagues, whatever those are.
Yeah.
But it reminds us there's a different way, a way of surrender, trusting God. And that leads to a whole different experience, even when things are really hard.
Totally. And then, things weren't dramatic enough already, right?
Mm-hmm.
Verses 8 through 10, things shift again.
Okay.
The Egyptians are begging Moses and the Israelites to just go, get out of here.
But Pharaoh,
Yeah.
even with all this craziness going on, his heart is still hardened. He won't budge. And Moses, well, he's mad.
It's interesting when you think about Pharaoh, right? It's easy to see him as just this one-dimensional bad guy.
Yeah, the villain.
But what if there's more to it? Imagine, he was under so much pressure.
Right, yeah.
He's the leader of this powerful nation, and his whole identity, it's all wrapped up in his authority. To admit defeat, especially to a group of slaves. I mean, it's unthinkable.
Yeah.
His world would have felt like it was falling apart.
So it's not just like he's stubborn.
Not just that, no.
It's fear, pride,
Yeah.
maybe even like desperation. He's holding on for dear life, even though it's not working.
Yeah, it's like he wants control so bad that he ends up losing everything.
And we've all been there.
Right.
You know, that resistance to change, that fear of letting go of what's familiar, even when we know deep down it's not good for us. But Pharaoh, he's like a warning sign. He couldn't let go, he couldn't surrender, and it destroyed him.
You know, it's like we all have these little pharaohs inside us, those things that are holding us back from really being free.
Exactly. Trapped by his own thinking. Can't see past himself. And it costs him everything.
Yeah, but like, even with Pharaoh being so stubborn, God's plan keeps moving, right?
Always.
His will is going to happen no matter what. It doesn't matter if people resist.
And that takes us back to what we were talking about before.
Redemption.
Exactly. God wanted the Israelites to be free, and that's what happens. But
there are consequences.
yeah, when you reject God, when you reject his will, it matters.
Big time.
It shapes your life, and it shapes the lives of the people around you.
So like, what does all this mean for us, thousands of years later?
Mm-hmm.
How do we take these lessons from Exodus and actually use them in our own lives?
That's the question, right? This chapter, it makes you think about how we react when God reaches out to us.
Like those touches we were talking about.
Exactly. When we feel his presence, when he's guiding us, or even when he's correcting us, do we even notice?
Yeah, do we even notice?
Then when we do notice, what do we do? Do we, embrace it? Do we use it to change, to grow, to deepen our faith? Or are we like Pharaoh?
Stuck in our ways.
Yeah, even when those ways are hurting us.
I think about those times when I can feel God nudging me, like he's whispering to me, trying to show me the way.
And we always have a choice, right? Like Pharaoh did.
Our choices matter. They shape everything.
Absolutely. Sometimes our choices take us to some hard places, We make mistakes, we go through tough times.
But God is always there.
Always. His plan for our lives, for our redemption, it keeps going. No matter what we do, he's always giving us another chance.
It's like earlier when we were talking about the gold and silver the Israelites took from the Egyptians. It seemed like such a random thing,
Yeah,
but it all ties back to redemption.
it does.
They used that gold and silver to build the tabernacle, that place where they could worship God.
It makes you think, what do we need to build our own, spiritual tabernacle?
Yeah. What's our gold and silver?
What do we need to build that foundation?
Maybe it's patience,
Could be forgiveness.
compassion, humility, that willingness to step outside our comfort zone.
All those things, they matter. Recognizing those things, letting them shape how we live our lives.
And maybe it's also about getting better at recognizing those times when God is trying to get our attention.
Those touches.
Yeah, those touches. Being more in tune with how he's trying to lead us, even when things are crazy and chaotic.
It's like we need to develop our spiritual senses. Be more aware. So we can be a part of what God is doing. In our lives and in the world.
Yeah. Being able to hear him, even when it's loud.
Listening for those whispers. Letting him guide us. And sometimes that means letting go of our own plans. Our own ideas. Trusting that God knows the way even when we don't have a clue.
This conversation has really changed how I see this whole chapter. It's not just a story from the past.
Oh, it's so much more than that.
It's like a guidebook, a reminder that no matter how bad things get, we can always find redemption.
We can always find our way back to God.
And you know what else?
What's that?
The choices we make every day, they really do matter.
They shape everything. Our own lives, the lives of other people.
Every choice we make, it's like an opportunity to do things God's way.
To be a part of his plan for this world.
We're all on this Exodus journey,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
going from this place of being stuck to a place of freedom.
Totally.
But to do that, we have to face those pharaohs inside us.
The things holding us back, what are they? What are those stubborn parts of us, those fears?
Yeah, those fears.
Those limiting beliefs that make us resist change?
What's stopping us from really experiencing God's redemption?
Deep stuff, man.
Yeah, and I think that's something everyone has to figure out for themselves.
For sure.
But this whole framework from Exodus, this judgment and redemption thing, it gives us a whole new way of looking at things. Our struggles, our victories, everything.
Totally. It's like we're not alone in this story of Exodus. It's been happening for forever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just in different ways, in different people's lives.
Yeah, it's like human nature.
It is. We hold on to what we know, even when it's hurting us. But it's also a story about hope,
Oh, yeah, definitely hope.
about change, about how much God loves us, even when we're running away.
And even when we screw up, even when we get off track, God's grace is still there.
Oh,
It's never too late to, like, turn around, let go of that hard-heartedness, and step into that freedom.
that's what's so amazing about this story. It's not about being perfect. It's about like moving forward, one step at a time. Recognizing those times, God reaches out to us, letting him lead us to that promised land, that place of like wholeness and freedom.
This has been an amazing deep dive. It's incredible how much is packed into one chapter of Exodus.
So much.
I know I've got a lot to think about.
Me too. It shows you how powerful scripture is, you know? These old stories, these like timeless lessons, they still speak to us today.
They really do. So everyone listening, as you go through your week, remember this idea of judgment and redemption. Think about those times when you feel God reaching out to you. What do you need to build that foundation of faith? What's your gold and silver? Keep diving deep, everyone, and we'll see you next time.